I'm back to you to go ahead and do the training module for the BNSF Railway ES44C4 freight train. This train is pretty strong and awesome. I just want to go ahead and do these 4 training modules. You guys can see what it's all about. I attempted to do this earlier this week and I completely messed up, and I actually ended up doing one of the other modules that the game has available. But I just want to do these 4 training modules.
San Bernardino County, Southern California. Here you can explore the expansive freight yard before you head out, following the famous Route 66 through the Mojave Desert into San Bernardino.
I'm gonna let you enjoy the game without my voice.
There's a missing safety sign over there. Let's go fix it while you're here.
Okay, it says to run is to hold down right trigger, and I do that and it slows down. Why, when I hit my right trigger, it slows down?
There are many more tasks to discover on this route. Along the way, make sure to put up route maps, install safety signs, refill water caches, and visit the food trucks.
Confused. Why is it doing that? And now it's not running at all. Okay. Yeah, figure out something.
Today, we'll be riding along in this ES44C4. Climb aboard and take a seat.
Why is it so zoomed in? I don't like this. Why did it all of a sudden zoom in like that? I don't know what I hit, guys, but it's definitely not working right. Let's see how the next module, if it does the same thing.
To date, BNSF have rostered over 300 ES44C4 units. The ES in the name of this model denotes that it's part of GE's Evolution series, and the 44, its rated horsepower of 4,400. C denotes that it has 3 axles per truck, and the 4, it's 4 traction motors. Barstow Yard contains 48 directional tracks. It covers a total area of 593 acres. That's 240 hectares. It is the second largest marshalling yard west of the Rocky Mountains. Although this yard has been in operation since the 19th century, much of what you see today was constructed in the early 1970s at a cost of over $50 million. Today, around 1,000 staff are employed here to route freight to and from the Mojave, Needles, and Cajon subdivisions. Each year, over 150,000 locomotives stop at or pass through Barstow Yard. And each day, over 175,000 tons of freight is moved through San Bernardino County. On this route, you will learn to operate ES-44C4 as you tackle stunning mountain ranges through the winding curves of California. And serve local industry as you switch and cut formations in the SD-40-2. You pick the pace. This is Train Sim World, Cajon Pass.
All right, completed. All right.
In this training module, you'll be learning how to drive this ES-44C4 locomotive in BNSF railway livery. The ES-44C4 is the fourth generation of the GE Evolution series. It started production in 2009 and continued to be built until 2015. Rated at 4,400 horsepower, these beasts are primarily used for heavy freight and intermodal traffic. When you're ready to begin, climb aboard. Sit in the engineer's seat. Now you'll go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive. Firstly, you will need to set the generator field switch. This needs to be enabled for the throttle to control the power of the train. This locomotive requires the reverser handle to be inserted before operation. The reverser determines the direction of travel. Switch the front headlights on. Regardless of the time of day or weather, all locomotives must have their headlights on. When getting moving, it's worth remembering the following sequence: independent on, auto off, throttle on, independent off. Let's go through that slowly and understand why. First, fully apply the independent brake. This will ensure that regardless of anything else, your train won't move. Next, fully release the automatic brake. This will release the brakes on the rest of the train, but you won't go anywhere because those independent brakes are holding you.
And before I move on and continue, this throttle can be moved up and down, forward and reverse with up and down deep and the D-pad. So keep that in mind. The D-pad you can use up and down to remove the reverser forward and reverse. Same thing with the independent and the automatic brakes. You'll be able to use your your left bumper and your left trigger to go forward or backwards. The X button will help you choose between the independent, automatic, like it's showing me here. This is the X button doing this, independent, automatic. So you get to toggle between the three brakes using the X button. And right now it wants me to release the brakes. So I can go to automatic brakes right there and use my right bumper to go ahead and release. Trigger will add brakes. Okay.
Now apply a small amount of throttle and verify that power is generated.
Now the throttle is basically the opposite. It's going to be right trigger and right bumper. Okay, right trigger, we'll give it throttle. The right bumper
Finally,
will reduce
release the
throttle.
independent brake and you'll start moving.
All right, releasing. I'm going to go ahead and use my left bumper to release. Oops, excuse me. I got to switch it to independent with my X button. And then release.
This is a great practice to get used to because it'll help you with two key areas. The first is that you verify that the train will take power before you release the brakes. You don't want to find yourself without power and having to hurriedly put the brakes back on. The second is that having power applied as you release the independent brakes ensures that you won't roll backwards. On steeper hill starts, you may even need to start with more power. And this is something you can practice and get used to as you find yourself out on the railroad. If you have any locomotives on the rear of the train behind freight cars, you can press the banking comms button to enable radio communications with those remote units. This will ensure that they operate their throttle and brakes in unison with your own locomotive, giving you much needed extra control on your journey. Press it now, just to get practice, even though there aren't any connected. Coasting is a method to efficiently maintain speed and reduce motor stress and maintenance requirements. Come to a stop in the indicated position using the independent brake. Independent brakes apply only to the locomotives in the formation and are much faster to apply and release than the automatic brake, which operates on the entire train. Change direction with a reverser. Then change the junction indicated, either by walking over to it or using the map.
Personally, I prefer the map. Okay, you hit the... I always forget what that button is. The back button. Consider it the back button, one on the left. And then you can zoom in and out with the left and right trigger. So it wants me to change which one? So I need to connect with that, so it needs me to change this. That one's already switched. The purple tells you which way it's going, so I gotta switch that one to make sure it goes that
Before
way.
proceeding, check
So
the
the
two
purple.
couplers are in the right position to allow for automatic coupling. Look at the rear coupler on your train and ensure it's open. Operate the cut bar if it is closed to release it.
Release it.
Next, walk over to the freight cars you're going to couple to and check their coupler knuckle is open too. Operate the cut bar here to open the knuckle.
I don't understand. Why is it not on? Why do I need to walk? I could have just brought the train over and then stopped before and then checked the coupling. You know, at least I wouldn't have to walk. Alright, what am I doing here?
Before coupling cars, always check the knuckles are open, or you'll just bounce right off.
But that's the whole point of keeping one of them locked and the other one released. Like this one is locked. Oops. Close that door. Skin is beautiful. Train Sim 4 is about to come out. Oh my goodness. I don't even know when I'm gonna get that.
Okay.
All right.
The junction is correctly aligned and the cars are ready to couple. Couple up to the cars by gently driving into them at a slow speed. And most freight uses automatic knuckle couplers, so they will automatically couple once they connect.
Yes, but you asked me to release mine and release the other one, and one has to be locked, the other one has to be released so it can lock. Coast the rest of the way.
If your speed is too high, you risk derailing when coupling. Apply some brakes to slow your approach.
This one's locked. The other one's locked, so I'm gonna release this one. It just keeps locking. So I'm gonna have to release this one. Normally what I do is I'll stop the train so it'll let me release it, and then I'll nudge it in there. Dang it. It's still too slow. There. Now it should let me do it. Locked. Because they're both locked.
Hey,
Perfect.
nice work. Now change direction with the reverser and move the train forward into the indicated siding. Remember to apply a little power before releasing brakes. While it's not strictly necessary in the training center, this is the time to start forming great habits. Since you have freight cars coupled, you should slow down using the automatic brake and get the extra braking effort from those freight cars. The automatic brake applies brakes throughout the entire train. Uncouple the cars either by using the external camera or by walking to the cars on foot.
I'll go ahead and do it on foot so you can see what it's all about. But yes, you can hit the camera, hit the right stick, and then just go to it and just hit the uncouple. I'll tell you where to uncouple it. Always jump out.
That's it for this training module.
That's it. Training module number 2 done. All right. All right, this is module number 3, or training number 3 in the training modules.
All right, in this training module, you'll be learning about the different brake types found in a typical U.S. freight locomotive. Take a seat in the engineer's position. Now you'll go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive.
Right. Like I said before, generator field on. Go ahead and hit the blue button to get your stick, and then hit the D-pad up to get forward position.
Now, this locomotive has 3 types of
Then
brakes.
we're going to take
Independent, automatic, and dynamic. And the operation of them can be counterintuitive until you get the hang of how they work. The independent brake applies brakes on just the locomotives and should be used when running a light loco or performing hill starts. They respond very quickly, but won't be of great use when you've got a long, heavy train behind you. The automatic brake applies brakes on the entire formation and should be used when bringing a consist to a stop, assisting the dynamic brakes on steep descents, or otherwise making more substantial speed decreases. But these brakes are slow to respond, and you can't partially release them. So if you want a bit less braking, you have to release them entirely, wait for the system to repressurize, and then you can reapply. The dynamic brake uses the locomotive's traction motors to slow the train down. These can be very effective at controlling your speed on descents, and are mostly effective between around 10 and 30 miles per hour. Either side of that, you're going to need one of the other brake systems. There are several gauges used to describe what is happening in the brake system of this locomotive, and they're common to a wide range of locomotives. The brake cylinder, or BC gauge, tells you the amount of pressure going directly onto the wheels. This is ultimately how much braking effort is stopping your train. If it's 0, the train is not applying any brakes. The independent brake lever directly controls this, but be aware that this is only reporting the state of the brake cylinder on your own locomotive, and not the rest of the train. The brake pipe, or BP gauge, tells you the amount of pressure on the brake pipe that extends the length of the entire train. On U.S. freight, this is pressurized at 90 psi as normal. brake pipe serves two functions. One is to provide air to all the freight cars down the length of the train so they can charge their own reservoirs. The other is that its pressure controls what the other vehicles do with their brakes. At 90 psi, the brakes on all vehicles will be released. As the brake pressure in the brake pipe drops below 90 psi, the other vehicles will apply brakes. Depending on the length of your train, changing the pressure on the brake pipe can be quite time-consuming, whether charging it up to release the brakes or reducing the pressure to apply them. And this is the reason that automatic brakes are tricky to use. The brake pipe works in conjunction with another system called the equalizing reservoir. Because charging the brake pipe is time-consuming, and you don't want to be watching that to find the right pressure, the equalizing reservoir is a much faster responding gauge and is what you primarily use to control the brake pipe. The automatic brake handle controls the equalizing reservoir. Apply the brakes a little with a lever, it will cause the equalizing reservoir to lower in pressure rapidly to the desired level. This causes the brake pipe to begin. Release the automatic brake, and you will see the equalizing reservoir rapidly rise back to 90 psi. At this point, the final reservoir will come in. Now there are some key behaviors of this system to remember. The longer the formation, the slower the brake pipe will be to respond. You cannot partially release automatic brakes. If you are braking too much, you may need to fully release the brakes, allow the brake pipe to get back to 90 psi again, and then you can reapply them. This should be carefully considered, however. You will have no air brakes during this time. Bring the train to a stop in the indicated position using the automatic brake.
About time, right? I don't know why the train did not want to go. I have no idea why, but I got it going now. was coming way too fast. I had to hit everything. Forget how crazy this is, how fast this train gets at some points. Oops. But hey, I didn't want to mess up this train at the end. Heck no. Alright.
Well, that concludes this training module. It's covered a lot of theory, but understanding the way these brakes work will help you understand why your train reacts the way it does. These freight trains are nothing like modern passenger trains with fast-acting and fully controllable brakes, but equally, they must manage massive, long, and heavy trains on steep gradients, an entirely different kind of challenge. Run this module again in the training center and repeat it any time you need a refresher.
Alright, training module 3 done. I did it in 18 minutes and it doesn't give me the 4. Okay. Yep, this is the last one. Hill start and dynamic brake introduction. These are the... Alright. There's other training, I believe, other training ones that you can do, obviously for each train, but like, and that's what I'm doing, just the main 4 that they offer, but I think each train still has other training.
In this training module, you'll be learning how to perform a hill start and practice the switch from throttle to braking as you crest a gradient and go from ascending to descending. You'll be using GE ES44C4 locomotives hauling heavy intermodal freight. Now you'll go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive. Now, when getting moving, it's worth remembering the following sequence that was covered in the locomotive training modules. Independent on, auto off. Throttle on, independent off. Let's go through that slowly and understand why. If you apply power too quickly, the wheels will slip. If this happens, reduce the amount of power to regain control and then gently reapply. If you are struggling for grip, apply sand to increase traction. That's it. You're moving forwards under power. If you use the same start process every time you begin moving, it'll become second nature.
Might as well go full throttle here. Get it up to 45. Because I see the speed limit's gonna go down to 45. In about 6,800 feet, so might as well. It's a heavy train. Big payload in.
Congratulations, you have reached the summit. As you start your descent, you'll need to switch to dynamic brakes to control your speed. The most effective speed for dynamic brakes is around 30 miles per hour. So if you're exceeding that speed, you should be slowing down. Above 30 miles per hour, the dynamic brakes become a lot less effective, and you will be more reliant on the automatic brake. The automatic brake on its own will not provide enough fine control over the speed of the train. It's a blunt instrument because you can't partially release the brakes, and they take a few minutes to apply to the setting you've asked for. If you try to rely on just the automatic brake, you will often find yourself coming to a halt or going over speed while you wait anxiously for the brakes to apply. Watch the train speed as it crests the top of the gradient. You'll go from needing power to maintain speed to finding that power starting to accelerate the train. When you see that, start backing off power and aim to keep your speed below 30 miles per hour. Once your throttle is at 0 and you're starting to pick up speed a little, it's time to get the dynamic brakes into their setup position. They'll need to be there for 10 seconds before you can use them further. Start adding dynamic brake as needed to keep the speed in check. The dynamic brake is only on the locomotive and will react nearly instantly. As you begin to get to larger amounts of dynamic brake needing to be applied, it's time to bring in the automatic brake to help. In most cases, a minimum set of automatic brake is enough. Apply that now. Watch out that on some locomotives, as you apply the automatic brake, this will cut the dynamic brake out entirely. This is because of the brakes applying on your locomotive. If you notice this happening, pull the independent brake towards you into the bail off position, and it will release those brakes only, leaving the automatic brake on the rest of the train. And you will see the dynamic brake come back into action immediately. As the automatic brake begins to take effect down the length of the train, you'll notice the train begin to slow down due to the extra braking effort. Gently dial back the amount of dynamic brake to compensate for this, and continue to try and aim to keep your speed around, but not exceeding 30 miles per hour. If you find that full dynamic brake is unable to hold the train speed, add a little air with the automatic brake. Wait to see how the train reacts, and adjust with the dynamics as needed. Always work under your target speed of 30 miles per hour. If you find yourself chasing faster speeds, you'll need to take more substantial corrective action with the automatic brake. Okay, come to a stop up ahead using the automatic brake.
I'd rather use it. I'd rather use it. Like the dynamic. Automatic and dynamic, yeah. I don't know why. For some reason life you could do that, but in this game. Come on. Stop. Stop. Still have 800 feet. Alright.
Right. Well, that concludes this training module. It is highly recommended that you practice both hill starting and the change from ascent to descent until you are comfortable with them. They are one of the more challenging aspects of operating heavy freight, and you'll really feel like you're in more control of this train as you get the hang of this task.
Alright. We did it. Modules 1 through 4, the main ones, complete. Alright. That concludes training modules 1 through 4 of the BSNF-ES44C4 freight train. Thank you for tuning in. I will be putting this on video on demand on Hizzo's Gaming YouTube channel. Please visit Hizzo's Gaming and subscribe there, and become a follower here on my Twitch stream. I really appreciate if you guys tune into the replay and watch that if you didn't get to watch it. That way you'll be able to fast forward to the main parts and everything. I want to thank you again. Have a good day.